If it's a Monday, that means it's time for pattern predictions here at 1 Degree Outside Weather Network. Meteorologist Matt Noyes, thanks for making us a part of your weather routine. Just a reminder that, speaking of part of the routine, if you want to look out to the next 14 days anytime, grab our app, Noyes' 1 Degree Outside Weather. It is totally free on the App Store and Google Play. Some of you have loved it so much that you reached out and said, I need a way to give back. That's very nice of you. If you'd like to do that, we did create the Fuel the Forecast here, just the way to give a couple dollars a month as a thanks. It's very nice that you wanted to do it. The Inside Track, 1 Degree Outside enthusiasts and 1 Degree Outside champions. Check it out. All opportunities to do more, learn more, and get more at patreon.com/1 Degree Outside. All right, jet stream level here over the course of the next few days is somewhat familiar, right? It starts out flat and to our south, and I talked about that in the next couple of days in our Insights video that you can always find at our homepage, 1degreeoutside.com. But notice here, for the purposes of pattern predictions going out through the next 2 weeks, we'll stop things around midweek. You do get this rise in the jet stream that is basically representative of the opening of warmer air and more moist air that's coming into New England. Just keep in mind, right, that the jet stream, the fast river of air, high in the sky, separating cold air to the north from warm to the south. So when it rides north like this, that's bringing in milder air and usually more moist air. That's what's been driving almost every storm recently, and that's why in pattern predictions and in the monthly forecast, we've been talking about the fact that this really isn't the pattern for lots of big blockbuster storms, but that you can still add snow up in a pattern like this. Well, we do the same thing for the upcoming weekend. Yet again, you get warmth and moisture riding north. Now, with each of these, then, what that means is you start with a pulse of snow, and hey, snow's snow, it adds up, right? But on the back side of that, you're usually going to a mix or ending up as rain. Then you get these troughs, these dip in the jet streams, in the jet stream that comes overhead, brings in colder air. You're going to feel the impact of that early next week, and we'll look at the 14-day temperature forecast trend here in a minute. One thing I want to say is we've talked in pattern predictions a couple of weeks ago and in the monthly forecast about how getting out toward the mid-month, you had this open opportunity to try and make a bigger storm. Well, you're doing that. It's just that it's bringing in the milder air. So your bigger storm is scooping enough warmth to change things from snow over to a mix. But the mountains have a better chance of getting bigger storms in the next several days. But notice once we start to get, let's say, beyond about the 19th or 20th, you start to get what we call the mean trough position, the kind of average position of the dip in the jet stream, shifting back over the northeast of New England. Look, for all intents and purposes, if this does indeed play out the way that it looks, this essentially and effectively closes the door on the chance for bigger blockbuster storms to develop in the latter half of the month. The reason being, if you've got the trough or the dip in the jet stream right overhead, you tend to be opening the door to cold and dry air, but you're not really in a position that you could create this broad-scale lifting in the atmosphere that's necessary to get storms going. So chances are good second half of the month. Doesn't mean you cut off snow. I mean, if we go out even a little bit farther here and out toward the final week of the month, look, you've still got disturbances. They're still bringing in Pacific moisture. They're still able to grab Gulf moisture. They still will come close to New England. I just think that you're kind of doing the same thing you've been doing, which is getting these kind of light to moderate snow events. Maybe you can get more if it's a fluffier nature to the snow that comes down. I'm not sure that you're really set up, at least not super favorably, for a blockbuster storm. And I'm always careful when I say that because all it really takes is one super strong rogue disturbance to kind of reshape things a little and tip the scale. But at this point, it just doesn't really favor that. You know, when you look at what's going on in the next few days at the surface, so you've got surface temperature colored in, and the black lines represent barometric pressure, and then you've got your surface wind drawn in here as well. This is what I mean about getting through the mid-month. It's not that you're not developing strong and nice, robust storms that come with a temperature contrast, right? So you can see as we get into the upcoming weekend, we'll do it. We'll get a storm coming out of the front range of the Rockies. It's going to be able to pick up Gulf of Mexico moisture, and it comes right by New England. And if you're on the north side of it, which the mountains of northern New England very well may be, in fact, likely will be, you get some good amount of snow out of that. But if you're in southern New England, it grabs just a little bit too much warmth. And again, that was something we had alluded to in the monthly forecast as a possibility, given the path that these storms are taking. Well, if I go a little bit deeper on, here's that shot of cold air that comes in, getting into next week, another storm later on next week that, again, may grab some warmth. Admittedly, though, I actually like this pattern better for trying to hold cold in southern New England than I do out of the next couple of storms. So The reason I say that is because you've actually got a pretty good amount of cold that's going to be in place coming across the upper Midwest and at least could be available to feed. And the only thing is, if you get a second reflection of a low pressure that's up over the Great Lakes, sometimes that can kind of cut the cold off. And then as we get in toward, again, that last week of February, you're still sending shots of cold down in our direction. And again, still developing storms from the south. This would end up being a question of, is the trough position being over us simply too overwhelming to allow the storm centers to come up in this direction? Look, it's not discouraging when you look at the precipitation forecast. You can see definitely we're in a swath of higher precipitation. Just remember, you are talking about a change. It will go over to mix in parts of southern New England. When you look at the snow forecast, I'm not going to zoom it in because I know it's not going to be right to the letter. But generally speaking, in northern New England in the next 2 weeks, you're probably getting 1.5 to 2 feet of snow. It's great. In southern New England, maybe 6 to 12 inches of total snow over the next 2 weeks, at least kind of on average is how that would look to be. You can see what I mean about the temperatures generally certainly staying cold enough for snow. There's that dip that comes in with the trough axis as it comes in across the beginning part of next week. And in terms of the chance of precipitation, well, you get the storm that comes in Wednesday night into Thursday. There may be some ocean effect snow showers Wednesday. See more on the Insights video for that. And then we get into Saturday, Sunday, particularly late Saturday into Sunday, another storm system. Midweek next week, we've been in that pattern too, right? You've been looking at midweek and weekend storm systems, and it may repeat again as we get into the following weekend, but that's a long way out. So that's the way things look for now. Just a reminder, grab the app. You can stay on top of our forecast and our videos on the home screen all the time. Make it a great one.